The Toronto real estate market just took a hit. Sales down over 27%, prices are slipping in areas, and buyers are pulling back. But here's the real question. Is this a sign of a market crash or the biggest opportunity we've seen in years? With uncertainty in the economy and interest rates expected to drop, those who stay ahead of the curve could come out on top. Hey there, I'm Matt Sloan, a realtor here in the Greater Toronto area. I know I have to ask in order to grow my channel, so please, if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, it would really mean a lot. And if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the start of 2025, diving into the numbers to see what's really happening, what it means for you, and whether now is a good time to make a move or not. So stay with me here while I pull up some slides that will break down some numbers of February and how the start of the year is shaping out compared to years past and most recent months. So here we can see, we'll kick it off with the average sale price for all home types across the GTA. Remember, this is all home types across the GTA, and it's a year-to-date price. So taking in consideration the January numbers and February numbers, we're sitting at $1,063,000, which is just less than down 1% year over year. So $1,063,000 for the average sale price. So the next thing I like to pull up, this is one of my favorite charts because it's this dot chart that will show us the average sale price from November 2020 all the way to February 2025. And what's very clear, or what's starting to be clear here, is if you take out those months in the beginning or late 2021 to beginning of 2022, where we had record low interest rates, that big spike there, if we take that out, we could just see a relatively standard appreciation with some ebbs and flows due to seasonal change over the last 5 years. So typically for the last 40 years, the average sale price has increased in the GTA on average 6.78%, just under 7% over the last 40 years. And you can kind of see this here, where back in November 2020, the average sale price was sitting just over $950,000. And now, as I mentioned, we're just above $1,050,000 right now. So if you take out that spike and just look at the ebbs and flows through the seasonal change, our prices have been pretty resilient and pretty consistent over the years here, last 5 years at least, especially. So pulling up this these next stats here, this is for what we've seen after the month of February, where the average sale price, as I mentioned, was $1,063,000. We had a number of sales that was just under 8,000, so 7,871. That is down almost 20%. So the February number of sales was a lot less compared to last February. And then again, we got 32 days average on market, and that's 6% longer than when we compare the numbers to last February. And when you break down all home types for the month of February specifically, and we look at the years past recently, so 2022 to 2025, we can look at the total sales were obviously definitely the lowest in the last few years, and in decades for that matter, for the month of February. So we had just over 4,000 sales in the month of February, where we could look at back at 2022, as I mentioned. That was when we had those record low interest rates and we had that big spike that we saw there on the dot chart. We had more than double the sales of that. So we had over 9,000 sales. And even just looking at last year, we had 5,500 sales last February. The big one here is looking at the active listings though. If we look at the active listings back in 2022, it's no wonder why prices shot up and went crazy. We had 6,900 active listings and only we had 9,000 sales. So we had more sales than active listings that were on the market, which is crazy to believe. And now if we look at it for this past February, we had over 19,500 active listings and only 4,000 sales. So a lot of inventory on the market. But remember, as I mentioned here, as it states, this is a breakdown of all home types. So some home types and some areas across the GTA will be showing more inventory than others, and it really depends from neighborhood to neighborhood. It's funny how it's acting right now, because we're seeing in some areas we're seeing multiple offers again, and in other areas we're seeing a lot of terminated and price changes on listings. With that being said, though, if we look over at average price, as I mentioned earlier, not too much has changed the last couple years. Obviously, back in 2022 when we had that spike, the average sale price was over $1.3 million. But if we look at, 2023, 2024, and now 2025, that average price is all kicking around the same, and it's slightly less, but 2% less, so nothing too crazy, right? This next chart here, this monthly sales data chart, it shows the last 13 months. Again, it shows the last 13 because we also add in February, but as we just kind of went over. But looking at the months of inventory in last February, we had 1.98 months of inventory. So you can kind of see why the price has changed slightly. Again, as I mentioned, only 2%, but last February we had less than 2 months of inventory. And if you look at months of inventory now, we have almost 5 months of inventory on the market, 4.84 months of inventory on the market. So again, with those numbers, we should have been seeing the average price come down quite a bit more than 2%. But that being said, it shows how resilient the market is here in the GTA. And then also, it also shows that it's differing from area to area and home type to home type, where, the condo market is extremely slow. It is a big buyer's market right now in the condo space. So there are opportunities to be had there. But for example, a semi-detached in Toronto, not too much inventory in specific neighborhoods, and you're going to see multiple offers in places there. Again, this last one we kind of went over, but again, it just shows it one more time just how clear of a difference it is between the last 6 years in the February numbers. So just looking at that main one, though, as I mentioned, those active listings, over 19,500 active listings on the market. So a ton of inventory in areas across the GTA. But we can see that average sale price has not changed too much. So it's going to be interesting to really see here, looking at this, is if that average price will continue to come down. I don't know if it will. I think we're going to have to keep an eye on those active listings. We may have seen a bit of a floor here on the average sale price right now, leading into the spring market. Also taking into consideration that interest rates might continue to drop as we look at how the economy is going here in Canada with everything in the news and whatnot. But we'll keep an eye on the active listings and then really see how those number of sales and active listings match up and what's going to happen to the average sale price as we move into the spring market here. So I hope that gives you a bit of a clearer picture. One other thing I did want to mention, though, there is some uncertainty, but with that uncertainty, does create opportunity. And when you're looking at these numbers right here, it's funny that, a lot of people did want to buy and get off the sidelines and rush out and purchase a home back in 2021 and 2022 when we had more sales than active listings on the market. Like, we did not have much to choose from. And it was no wonder why, we'd show some properties and you walk down by the end of the driveway and you almost had to make a decision right then and there. So right now we're in an opportunity where we do have listings on the market in certain areas, and it is a much better, more confident place for a buyer. So if you are thinking of selling, if you are thinking of buying, that is something to, kind of be aware of. And it might not hurt to get out there and start looking at some properties and seeing what you like versus what you don't like, and seeing what opportunities there are, because again, like I mentioned, there is, depending on the pocket that you're looking in, there is some opportunity across the GTA here. So there it is. We have looked at the numbers from February 2025. We have discussed what the past year has looked like in comparison, and we have gone over the amount of supply across the GTA. So tell me, what do you think about the state of the GTA real estate market right now? I've given a couple of my opinions, but after going these numbers, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.